Just start.
Yeah.
And when you start, read more, understand more about what the company is doing, invest in what you know. There's always this saying, if you are saving in the bank, right, you get a little interest. And most times when you calculate it, it is below inflation. So you're really behind. But why not invest in the bank?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the Limitless podcast. Right, my name is Dr. Thaon Simms, and joining me as always is your co-host, Dr. Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, and Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
And of course, we have a special guest, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest. Ooh, this is where Preston puts all the, the theatrics. Right,
Okay.
welcome, Dr. Street Forrest.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on, guys. So, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest, the managing director of the JSE, huge guest, right? There's a lot we could speak about, Dr. Street Forrest, in terms of your contributions to Jamaica on a whole. I was gonna say just the Jamaica Stock Exchange, but to people like me and Matthew, since we were investors, we started investing in med school, the latter part of med school, right?
Yes.
So as 2019, and that was a great year for us. So we want to thank you. We want to thank you, of course.
And I'm sure you made some money.
Definitely made some money that year, and that's why we are still investors to this day. So you've touched on so many lives. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Okay, so to start it off, I actually did some, reading on you. There's a lot that I guess our listeners do not know about. And guys, if you like the content, please subscribe, all right, or hit the like button. But I realized, Dr. Street Forest, your parents were entrepreneurs,
Yes, they
right?
were.
I read an
Yes.
article of you growing up in Portland, I think Port
Yes.
Antonio. You were working alongside your parents. They
Yes.
had a family business,
Yes.
hire purchase,
Mhm.
haberdashery, motor vehicle servicing
Yes.
businesses. I want you to kind of tell us about that experience and how it has shaped your future now. Whether it's the discipline on the weekends, whatever it is, tell us how it's shaped how you got
Yes,
to where you are now.
that experience, looking at it now, because looking at it then, probably you'd say we had to work when many others played. But looking at it now, you see that it was really very important. So important because you learned one discipline, but another thing that you learned to do various things. So it's not one dimensional. You had to think, you had to work, you had to understand that your pocket money is going to be coming from well you sold. So it's marketing, etc. So it gave you a broad perspective. It made you appreciate also persons who are in business. It is not always rosy. It is not always what it looks like on the outside where people feel that there is money. It makes you appreciate the struggles of an entrepreneur. So this for me was very important. It sort of shaped, and not totally, what I wanted to do, as an adult, and which why I'm saying not totally, because even at the point at which I went to university, for one thing, I didn't realize that the path of business management study was really what I should have done. So, but life has a way of pulling you where you are supposed to be. And if you listen well, you will go into the right avenue.
I see you've also listened well in one of, I think, an interview or so on. You were talking about how you got to your undergraduate degree in terms of
Yes.
management studies, and you're actually
Right.
going to go for sociology. Tell us about that.
Theology, yes, definitely. And I just listened, very uncanny because I'm in the line, I'm doing my normal registration, and this lady said to me, I would just about turn 18. And she said, "What you young girl doing here in this line doing sociology? Come out to the line and go and register for management studies." And trust me, that's just what I did. I mean, she was older. I mean, there was respect for age, and there
Yeah.
was also respect for wisdom. So I said, well, probably she knows what I'm supposed to do. And I just came out, and, those days it was easier to
Mm-hmm.
shift from one discipline to another. And I registered for management studies, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Mm. Did you
Would you
ever
look
meet
at that?
that lady
Oh,
again?
I really, every time I looked somewhere, I said, I wonder if this is the lady. But
Was I?
I never met the lady again.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, if she's watching, thank you. A
yes.
random lady in the line. Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned that okay, you did management studies. So was there any other work that you did? Like, how did you get from management studies to then working at the Jamaica Stock Exchange?
Oh, what a long journey, and you have all night.
We do.
Actually, after management studies, I went as an auditor at the income tax department. Now,
Mm.
people can say a lot about government, but I'm telling you that it was a disciplined place. We knew what we had to do. We were well supervised. And that allowed you to have an appreciation again of people's financial statements, what they claimed, what they did not claim, what you are to look for. And it gave you an appreciation, further appreciation and practical knowledge now of you just immersed into accounting
Mhm.
and audit naturally. And then after that, I went to JPS, and then after that, I went to cement company as
Mm.
a cost accountant. And
Oh.
there is where, I would have met the best mentor that one could meet. Mentors don't
Mm.
have to be one that you sit and you meet with them every time. It is the life they live, the way in which they guide you, just as a naturally guiding you. And
Mhm.
I saw that in the CEO, the then CEO of cement company,
Mm.
understood what we must deliver, and but again very caring in terms of what we fed our minds. So he would always be there saying, look, these are the sort of books you must read. So it's a continuation of, you know guiding. And that was for
Mhm.
me a positive encounter for a few years. Good role model.
Mm. Would you like to shout them out? Who that was?
Hi, Mr. Rodney. Compton Rodney is his name. Yes.
Okay. Love
Okay.
that.
So then, so what was it that really grabbed you and made you say, "Hey, I want to work at the Jamaica Stock Exchange"? Like, what was it? Because I'm sure back then the stock exchange wasn't, what you built it to know.
Well, I worked with the Southeast Regional Health Authority, and that again was a good experience as parish manager. So
Mm-hmm.
you interacted with people, you see the needs of people, etc. However, I just felt that I needed to go back into the world of what I knew best, and that was accounting and finance. And I saw the advertisement in the newspaper. Yes, people, you can get jobs from the Gleaner and the other newspapers. And
Yes.
I applied. I was called for the interview, and I got the job.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow, speaking about the parish manager, so we know the Southeast Regional Health Authority very well,
Oh,
right?
you do, I'm sure.
As doctors, so we
Exactly.
do understand I think part of the things you learn in that space is how to do well with, I guess, the limited resources that you
Very
have.
little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
can be very
we
stressful.
very stressful,
Just so we
and
know.
reaching out and collaborating with different companies and
Yes.
individuals. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
tell you, I said to everyone, I said that was my introduction in understanding how to beg.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
You had to be nice about it. There are the needs,
Mm-hmm.
the various things need to be fixed up for both the patients and also the staff. And you had to
Yes.
balance that, and you had to see where places that will be kind to you, and you put in your request, etc. That was
Mhm.
something else.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. So now
Mhm.
you've you went into office, you're
Yes,
into the stock exchange. This was maybe I think 2004 or so on.
2000,
2000.
September 2000. Yes.
Oh.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So what was it like at that time? Because that's a completely like we can't Preston and I can't fathom what that time was for the stock exchange because what we're seeing now is definitely not what it was before.
Mhm.
Interesting. It was interesting. So I, my job at that point was the deputy general manager in charge of finance.
Wow.
So
Mm.
the idea was to get that area to be as efficient as possible. But obviously, one of the major things is when you are here, when you're in the job, what are you look at what are some of the deficiencies, what are some of the needs. The major thing that grabbed you immediately is
Mhm.
the participation in the market was not high. No. So if you are looking at it generally from the standpoint of business sustainability, that was not a recipe for sustainability. And if you are
Mm,
looking at it from the standpoint of the objective of the stock exchange, we weren't totally meeting our objective either on the issuer side, the listed companies, nor on the investor side. There was this huge gap, and
Mhm.
also the question was, is the stock exchange for me? Most persons would ask, because it was seen as that of the rich
Mhm.
person, that
yeah.
they are the ones that had the money to invest. And we're still trying to demystify that, by the way.
Mhm.
Having now about 360 account holders, which represent in terms of adult population about 20% of the market. We're still doing that right now. I'm trying to
Mm.
just continue to say to persons, it is for everyone, and you don't have to be rich. Doctors Sims and Preston, you know that, unless you were rich at med school.
I wish still not rich, but on the way. Preston and I, well, I usually call myself pre-rich, meaning going to get
And that's a good
getting there,
state,
getting
right?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
pre-opening of the market, pre-rich is a good state to be.
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, at that time was also around the time of maybe the was it the dot-com bubble or so on. Did that have any effect on our market at all, or not as much?
Um, and I just cannot remember, but I
Fair.
at that point in time too, I will say to you that there was pretty little correlation between
Mm.
our market and the rest of the world.
Mm. Okay.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Okay. So you have had like some front row seats to, I'd say, three major market crises, because when you were just starting, that would have been just like post FinSac era.
That is
And
correct.
then you had the 2008 recession.
Right.
And then more recently, you had the COVID-19 pandemic. That's 2020.
That is
And
correct.
and I think a previous interview, you actually mentioned that COVID was probably one of the most challenging, you know, crises that you faced since. So could you
Yes.
walk us through what that was like, those first weeks, like when the first case was announced, lockdowns were announced, and I think the overall market dropped something like 30%. Walk us like what was going through your mind, what was going on at the stock exchange.
Gosh, it was devastating. Because you can imagine, just think about it. You're on
Mm-hmm.
a high. 18, you were the best performing stock market in the world.
Mm,
2015, you were. 2018, you were. And what it is that companies were doing well. Because what
mm-hmm.
makes a stock market the best performing? Companies are doing well, the price of the stock is going up. So,
Mm-hmm.
compared to other markets, you are the best in terms of the performance.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just imagine if you are doing so well, you are being acclaimed, and all of that, and COVID comes.
Mm.
It is not a nice place to be, right? The only thing though is, and I'll go back to the market, and I want to just interject that while you are building a market, you have to build resilience, and which we did in terms of the infrastructure, so technology. So we were not phased by COVID not being able to open the market. The technology allowed that.
Mhm.
What happened though is the fear. A market is driven by confidence. And if you know that, okay, businesses are shutting down, there's no real revenue or continuation of that revenue to funnel and to drive those businesses, those same businesses that were driven in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, the investors become fearful. And so you could see the drop. And I will just underscore that possibly because our market is still young, still relatively young, investors are still new to the market. There is still investing in the stock market is long term, and markets will go up and markets will go down. But the panic sets in for especially newer investors. They are
Mm.
going to want to come out because they have not been fully baptized and they are still drinking that milk. That
Wow, you're speaking to us. Yeah, which is facts. Yeah, we were
Mhm.
very
okay,
new
so
at that
that's what you
time.
did as well, right?
Well, I wouldn't say I sold everything. I sold some things, but yes, when you see the market dropping and your stock
Yeah.
dropping by 30%, it does breed a
Yes,
lot of fear.
it breeds
So,
a lot. So
Mm.
you are not thinking, okay, why not stick it out for long term? So investors make or break markets,
yeah,
Mhm.
right?
truly.
And some of the times it takes a longer time to recover. Now, obviously, we would have had imported inflation, supply chain disruptions, etc., that would have continue to affect the companies that are listed on the market, and hence performance of those companies and the market. But it is long term. So while I'm on the podcast, I will
Yes,
say yes,
100%.
yes, that it is a long term. And
Mhm.
the more we get into the habit of speaking about that, I think when you have a next pandemic, if you
Mhm.
do, knock on wood, we don't, but you will have less knee jerk reaction. You had some
Mm.
persons who stayed in market but stayed in, just did not sell, did not buy. But you had those that rushed to sell. And when you
Mhm.
looked at that, when we saw it's the team of us, eh? And when
Mhm.
we saw the market going down, it it really was a feeling of dejection. I'll tell you that. Probably that's the word, dejection.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I can only
So
imagine that.
obviously, do you just continue to be dejected, or you start to have much more educational programs? We did that,
Mm.
right? So, and you have to continue to do that. So you do what you can to ensure
Mhm.
that the market will stabilize and
Mhm.
rebound. Yeah.
Okay. And then could we talk about maybe the flip side? So that was when the market was, oh no, dropping significantly. But then what was it like even in that 2015, 2018 era? Because I wasn't even investing then, but I could imagine like you were, people who you were probably being invited on a lot of different shows and like other countries are like, hey, we would love you to talk about your Jamaica Stock Exchange. How did that feel then?
Yeah, because this was, I think it was
Obviously,
Bloomberg. Was it
that's you.
Bloomberg
Yes,
that that
Bloomberg.
that owned it?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yes, and
huge.
they asked about the secret sauce. Euphoria. You felt
Mm.
good. What gives you the greatest pleasure in being at the helm of the stock market is to see that the objective, you meet the objective. People are getting wealth creation. That is at the almost at the bottom of your being, that people are getting it. You have more and more persons who say, I've been able to use this investment and do something else, buy a house, buy a car,
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So it was not only the pleasure of seeing the stock market getting those acclaim. Not for me at any rate. For me, it was more that satisfaction that persons were benefiting. Persons were benefiting and were getting it, So that was a feeling, a great feeling, to know that persons were coming in. Not only the investors know, but remember, the market is there for access to capital. And when you saw the market picking up, because we introduced like the junior market and the persons, small and medium sized businesses were able to get that capital to grow the business. It was just very good. And what was so lovely too was when you started to see younger people, because I'm always interested to see how do we do? How can you ignite a sort of passion in younger persons to just say, yes, there is hope for Jamaica, and there I see something that I can gravitate towards. And so that was the feeling.
Yeah, we are. I would also say we are pretty young. We're not 30 yet. So we still fit in the young category.
You
And
do.
I mean, the stock exchange has done tremendous for, the both of us. To have you on this platform as well is actually a blessing, So we do give you a lot of credit for building the JSE to what it is to this day. And
Thanks.
I want to also speak about the junior market, because you mentioned
Right.
the junior market a while ago. Can you
Mm-hmm.
walk us through that inception? Because I remember hearing that is it Audley Shaw is the politician that proposed it or so on. I'm not sure
Well,
how it.
n- no, he did not propose it.
Okay.
Let me just say that we had to be searching for a new way to sustain the market, because we were getting delistings on the main market,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what do? You have to look at how do you excite persons to raise capital, because there were so many myths. I'm going to lose my business. I don't want people in my business. I prefer to go to the bank to get a loan because it's easier, the relationship between me and my bank manager. So we were tasked. I was tasked to come up with some other ideas. And obviously, one of those was the junior market. The junior market, and a market just like this, is not an original idea. Let us say that. You have markets like this in Canada, you have markets like this in UK, but ours was ours. We fashioned it in a way that could appeal to our people.
Mm-hmm.
The tax credits, just the mentorship that you would provide to junior market companies, all of those things. And the government, we approached them
Mm-hmm.
and they saw the obvious win-win situation for them, the country,
Mm-hmm.
the potential listees, and
Mm-hmm.
also for the stock exchange. So I want to give um Audley Shaw, yes, a lot of credit, because this partnership was very important to get this market off the ground. Now, let us see after that. You want to give the brokers, the ones who saw that vision, credit also, because an idea is just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But when
Sure.
you get the right mix and blend of persons buying into that vision, that's
Mm-hmm.
when the idea now becomes something substantial. So the government, the brokers, and the persons who initially went on that steering committee to say,
Mm-hmm.
let us see how we steer all this idea into something that makes sense. That's important. And that is really the beginning of the junior market. The constant going out, I want to credit the stock exchange's team. where we went to the highways, we went to the byways as a missionary, and we spoke about the benefit. I mean, if you see some hills that we climbed in those days
Mm-hmm.
where persons had their business, we just went and we said, look, this is talk about it. And yes, some success was early, some delayed because people had to understand and buy in. But that's just the power of perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Truly,
Mm-hmm.
truly. Honestly, the junior market is my favorite part of the market. So
Or is it?
yeah, no, it's wonderful. I mean, just even thinking of I understand it now from the perspective that you gave, where you saw a lot of delistings at the time. So in order to attract a lot more companies, that tax incentive, it's a brilliant idea. So
Yeah.
no, kudos to the JSE and kudos to you guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
and
I'm
big up a
sure.
lot of the brokers too, because I
Yes.
remembered, I think Mayberry was really big,
Mayberry.
very
Yes.
bullish on the junior market. They pushed a lot of, a lot of
Yes.
listed companies, Lascos. I think they
Mm-hmm.
did help with that. So yeah,
Yes. Yes.
the brokers, big up the brokers. We spoke about the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and we are working to build up the Jamaica Stock Exchange to, be close to something like a NASDAQ, a New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange one day, right? And I'm sure you guys try to look on those markets and then you're like, okay, what could we do that they do, right? And then try to improve our market. So I think you guys, for example, adopted some sort of NASDAQ trading system, like to
Well, we
improve
have
our
the order
system,
matching, NASDAQ order matching system
the
that
order
works
matching.
well.
Mm-hmm.
It's reliable and there are many features in it that, attract, that we
Mm-hmm.
can use to attract the market. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So apart from that, are there any other things that you look at one of those stock exchanges that you like? Say there was one thing that you could pick that you could
Mhm.
pull from an international stock exchange and implement it in a JSE tomorrow. If you had a magic wand, what would be one of those things that you look at and you're like, wow, the JSE, I would love for us to have this one day.
Well, it is something that we are working on now. So let us look at sustainable development goals. You,
Mm-hmm.
as a country, you have to look at the SDGs. And one of the things that we know is hurting this country and many others is really about climate change and environment. So the point is that we have to move towards putting in sustainable measures that the stock exchange and also offering that as a part of issue to the market. So we will next year launch the green bond market, and which is just really attracting more foreign inflows because there are investors who are environmentally friendly and are
Mm-hmm.
looking for those investments. So obviously getting that flow in is going to be very important to us.
Mm-hmm. So could you touch more on that? So you're saying essentially international companies. So it could be, it's not just, you're not trying to just tie it down to the region. You're saying even a US company that would like to essentially borrow some money to invest in some, I guess, renewable energy projects or things like that, they would be able to then list that debt on the market and then people could buy or sell that bond.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
So you get the general idea of that, and it it requires some amount of not some amount real diligence, because
Mm-hmm.
when you are talking about a green environment, you have to ensure that there is nothing like greenwashing. You have to ensure that there is a proper scrutiny of that particular issue and continuing monitoring and regulation. So we are
Mm-hmm.
putting all of that in place and to ensure that once we establish the market and we go towards attracting persons to list green, social, sustainable, and sustainable linked bonds, we
Mm-hmm.
are ready and we can do it properly.
Okay. Well, all I can say is that as a shareholder, This sounds very nice because if you think about that, that's just the size of these kind of projects.
Yes.
These are, you know,
Can
can
be
be like
large.
a 50 million, 100 million US.
Yes.
And so if you're listing a bond that size
Yes.
and people are actually trading that bond and you
Yes.
guys get those fees, like every transaction, buy, sell, buy, sell, that's a fee for you. So it's a win-win.
Yes,
The company that needs the money
Mm-hmm.
can get the money through that bond, and
Right.
then you guys can actually earn that.
Environment.
And then it's a win-win. I love to hear that.
Yes.
And you said you're hoping for next year.
Yes.
One of the things that
Not hoping, it will be.
it will be awesome. I
Yes.
love that. One of the things that, you know, people kind of what do you say, bash the JSE for. They say, oh, our market, you can only buy or sell stocks, you can't do options and leverage, and well, yeah, you can't do options and futures, or you can't short. And I know you guys have been working on this shorting system for maybe about 2 years. Could you give any updates on the shorting system? Or
A little bit more than that, we have been working on it. So just to
okay.
be honest, it has taken a little while. We are not the only stock market that does not do short or futures or options. But we think it is necessary because you have the long position, which we do now, but we don't have the short position. And so we are working on it. We have we will be able to launch that market by the end of the first quarter. So within the second quarter of the year, January, February, March, April, May, June. So by
Okay.
June, we will
By June
have
next
that
year.
market ready. Yes.
June 2025. Okay.
Yes.
Love to
Okay.
hear that.
Yes.
Guys, if you like that, drop a subscribe. That's huge. That's huge.
Definitely. We are far
Yeah.
advanced. Let me just
Okay.
say.
I'm
No,
happy
I
to hear
love
that.
that. I
Yes.
love that. I love that. I think it's just good to give more options, because remember before we were speaking about how when the stock market was dropping,
Yes.
people were worried, but because you could only essentially go long, where you'd only
Long.
benefit if you buy the stock at a lower price, sell it at a higher price. But with
Yeah.
shorting, you can
Yeah.
actually benefit from a company going from a lower price. So there could have been investors who could have been like, wait,
Who would have taken
a
advantage of
company
the market?
like a main event or something like that, who, big on events and parties, when we lock down, they're not going to be able to, or like a Dolphin Cove and those tourism companies. So you could have benefited from that.
Yes.
Doesn't do anything to the company, it's just the stock price. And then when the company then resurge, you could then go long, and then, like.
I see
Yeah.
you're studying your markets, man.
Oh, Preston has been on this shorting thing for a very long time.
No,
So
I see
yeah.
that he loves it. I see that you love it too.
Oh, 100%, 100.
That's
Because there's so
Yep.
many
good.
opportunities. I'm just wondering how that would work with the brokers. But I guess that's another episode for another day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess my next question would be about the JS. So a lot of people may not know that the JSE itself is, a company, right? It actually became demutualized, I think, around, I don't remember the year actually. 2008, right?
Yes.
And it was listed. So you listed the preference shares, then the
First.
ordinary shares.
Mm.
Yeah, first, then the ordinary shares on the market. I want to know why, like why would you want to now take this, I guess, quote unquote private entity, list it on the stock exchange? Like, what was the thought process at that time?
Preacher, practice what you preach.
Amen.
Yes. We believe in the market. We believe in the power of the market. We believe that also we should provide persons with an opportunity to enjoy our returns. So it was not about only initially the seats. We had seats, which had that's for the demutualization, the power to as an investment and also as a member dealer. When we demutualized, we put that aside, and we gave the member dealers shares, and also they had a permanent license. Now we wanted to go further than that, to say we have X amount of persons who have ownership of the exchange, but we felt that we should broaden, and which is what is really what we preach to others: broaden the ownership of the exchange, understand the value of the exchange as well, It's difficult when you have a business. Sometimes you're looking at the balance sheet, it's historical value, but the market daily values your company. So these are some of the things that we felt that we needed to do. Also allow for staff to benefit from the markets. All the reasons that we gave persons to say it's not only a matter of getting money in. There is a benefit to the staff members. You want to ensure that those staff members understand and get feel as if they not feel but own a part of it. You wanted to give that advantage to the other persons in the market. And so those are some of the decisions that went into listing on our own exchange. Now, listing
Mhm.
on our own exchange, we have to be transparent as any other company. We have
Mhm.
to abide by the rules as any other company. So we have been doing that. I'm happy to say that we have been doing that. So it is a matter of also showing an example of what can be done.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you guys for listening.
You
If you look at it,
I don't have to ask a question then. Yes.
if
Yeah,
you just look at it,
you definitely do it.
like you guys are quite like, if you notice, we were talking about, okay, COVID. There were certain businesses with mentioned, like, if you're an events company or party company, if there are no parties, if there's no people allowed to get into the country and you earn from those people coming to the country, you're going to earn less money. But with the beauty of the owning at like the Jamaica Stock Exchange is that even if the stock price is dropping, as long as there are still, a lot of trades happening, you guys are still able to earn from that. So whether or not the exchange, the market is up, the market is down, a lot of times, as long as there's still trades occurring, you guys are still making money. And I love that you guys have worked on diversifying your
That's
revenue streams. So if
yes.
you actually look at your financials, the amount of money you're earning from trading, if you compare that to the bull market 2018, 2019, those times, you're earning, comparing that to now, you're earning less from trading because,
Mhm.
there's just less trading volume. But you guys have been working on, your trustee side, other stuff like that. So you are working on that so that when the trading starts to come back, you have now, these revenue streams just come together. And I think it's going to be quite interesting. So I love the business that you guys have built.
Diversification. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
it
going
shows,
to
I guess,
invite you on our investor forum so that you can talk. Well,
I'd love
but
to.
that is the power of diversifying your revenue streams. Because can you imagine if we did not do that? Just
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just disaggregate and you will see
Mm-hmm.
that it would have been a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Definitely. What is, like, that now, I'm sure, people are reading articles, Bank of Jamaica and other central banks across the world. They are, trending towards reducing interest rates. I think the
Mhm.
Bank of Jamaica is likely going to meet later this month, and we'll see if they will try to reduce interest rates now. And we generally know that reducing interest rates, generally people say, oh, it correlates with better equities performance. What is your outlook on the Jamaica Stock Exchange over the next few years? I know that you obviously you're somewhat biased, but could you tell us, like, what are some of the things that maybe we could look forward to?
Biased but honest. You have to be honest when you are giving people. I'm not giving financial advice, but I'm just looking at it from internally what we see. And
Mm-hmm.
the Bank of Jamaica has reduced interest rate by about 50 basis points, as you know. And we would not have seen the impact of that as yet. You will not, because there is a delay in
Mm-hmm.
terms of lowering interest rate and
The loan rates.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, but we are projecting that within next year, sometime within next year, we should see the impact of that 50 basis point. Not
Mm-hmm.
immediately, but certainly also with new investments. If you have new monies, you are going to, or you should be investing now in the stock market. We and with the rest of the diversification plans that we have, obviously you cannot get into trouble with the stock exchange by talking too much about your company, correct? So I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that we plan to diversify further,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and those are a part of the strategic plan, and we continue to do that. So I really see bright days ahead, and the future is looking good for the stock
Mm-hmm.
exchange.
Love that. I love that. I love
Like
that.
to hear that. Do you, so based on how you speak, right, you almost, and you know, as a CEO, but you do sound like you also invest as well, right? No, you do not invest. There's no
I, I,
personal
I,
investment strategy, nothing.
okay. So one has to ensure that there's confidence in the market. One has to ensure that when you ask a question, as you have asked this question, that you can answer it and answer it truthfully. So where and perception is everything. So one does not, I do not invest in the stock market. I will at the IPO, because the information is the same for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes.
There is information that might pass my desk, and obviously it is uncomfortable. So, unlike yourself, who would have benefited tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot say the same. And it is not a matter of preacher at this point preaching what doing what you preach. It is a matter of ensuring that with the strictest of, you can say definitively,
Mm-hmm.
information, you are not benefiting from information that possibly would not be available to others.
Okay.
Mm,
Understood. Understood. Yeah, I can imagine that must be hard. I probably wouldn't want to work at a JSE just so that I would still be able to invest.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
can
you're giving up a
imagine.
lot.
Yeah, you're giving up a lot.
Yeah.
But okay, one of the things that I love about, or that love that you guys have announced, you mentioned, and on our episode that we had with the chairman of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Stephen Whittingham, big up Stephen, he actually spoke about how you guys are working on opening up our stock exchange. What you said was that you wanted to make it so that investors from other countries, even outside of the Caribbean region, could actually get access to our market.
Yes.
And I think that's really big because you're essentially possibly opening up, you know, the almost the sky's the limit, billions of US dollars that could be coming into our market.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of people might say, oh, our market is not a developed market. And then they blame sometimes how certain companies are priced at certain levels. They're like, oh, if that were to happen on the US market or the UK market or a more developed market, they'd be like, oh, that price would not be priced at that level. It should be much higher. So how are you guys, you know, working towards that opening up? Are there certain countries that you're working on a partnership with right now? Could you speak more about that and maybe any possible timelines?
Well, let us go answer it directly. Our market is not closed. It is not closed to anyone who wants to invest in our market. We have online trading platform, and we have investors from Japan, Germany, India, quite a number of places. So our market is not closed. One of the things that fund managers overseas, etc., will say is that it is not large enough to facilitate entry and exit, easy entry and exit. So the idea is to grow the market, to have more companies that are listed on the market so that it facilitates that. I want to just underscore, when persons talk about development of the market, our rules are robust, our systems are robust. All of those things are comparable to that of UK, United States, and other markets that you would call markets of the first world. We are emerging market because mainly of size and not because of what we do. So I would say that we are a small giant. That's how I would describe your market. That's how I describe my market. what we need is to encourage more persons to see the benefit of the equities market, and more persons as a result having more issues in the market. But as it relates to closed, our market is not a closed market.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. And I mean, we have read through even the main market, junior market rule books and so on. So definitely, and we've seen the JSE actually enforce the rules to a lot of companies that don't comply. So unfortunately, but we can see that it is very strict for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So now, after you've dedicated all this, so many years to the JSE, what's the first thing that you want to tackle in your next chapter?
The first thing, that's a good question. The next chapter, and you rightly say there's a next chapter, right? It's really about it is about education, market education. It is about continuing the journey of ensuring that persons understand the beauty of a market, the beauty of mentorship, etc. So it is really some of those. It could be about teaching. It could be about preaching.
Okay, I like that. I like to hear that. So
Mm-hmm.
Preston and I, we are actually also teachers. We used
Oh,
to
you
teach
are, yes.
throughout, yeah, we taught all throughout med school and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So
What did
if
you
you
teach?
ever just medicine, but
Medicine.
different
Okay.
different aspects of medicine,
Yeah,
clinical hematology.
we
We
used to
taught a
essentially
lot
teach each other actually. So I
at
remember
first,
Okay.
yeah.
like we had like a study group,
Right.
and when it was our exams, for example, I used to have a whiteboard, and Thaon used to live on Hall, and I would bring my whiteboard. We'd go to his room, and then we'd like just like teach each other what we learned or what we read that day. And we used
Yes.
Hmm.
to also then eventually like we used to teach essentially, I guess, to like learn. 'Cause if you look into this, I guess the effectiveness of different learning strategies, teaching is one of the most effective.
Yes. It
And
is passing it on.
yeah,
Yes.
because like
Passing
if you
on
if
your
you can
knowledge.
teach it and you can break
Yes.
it down and explain it and simplify it,
Ex-
you really understand it.
Exactly.
And then I guess eventually we used to like, wait, we can do this and earn some money. We used to do that and teach some students. Hopefully, some of them are listening now. Big them up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even through this podcast, that was one of the reasons why we were like, hey, we should get into this, because it wasn't like we were finance people. We
Mm-hmm.
were just like, hey, we're trying to learn this thing and we like it. If we
Yeah.
started to teach it and try to learn and push each other, like it would help us to learn. And I can honestly look back and be like, hey, I've definitely grown a lot since being able to start this, because I've been able to have like, I would have, if you'd ever asked me like, hey, when you're starting this podcast, you'd one day be able to interview the managing director of the same Jamaica Stock Exchange that you do a podcast on, I would
Yeah.
have never thought that.
So
Agreed.
yes, you expand, you grow, you are coming on to teach someone. You have to also go and do some research, yeah?
Yes. Heavy
Mhm. We're
So
research.
big
as
on
to
research, big on
yes,
research,
yes.
big on
Heavy
research.
research.
You are big
So
on
I mean,
research, yes.
if you ever need anyone to help you with that journey in terms of teaching and reaching out to investors, because that's at the core of what
Important.
Limitless is, we really do want to bring more people to the market, more people enjoying investing, and just having these kind of laid back conversations about investing and
Yes.
their journey. That's kind of why we started in the first place. So if
And I
there are any
want to
opportunities,
congratulate
we're
you,
here.
and you see, people also respond to younger people in terms of these things because they know that you are bringing a fresh perspective, you are bringing your experience. So that is good. And we should all try to aim at making a record for Jamaica and the world. We should be looking to see what other markets, or what's the percentage of persons who are investing in stock markets worldwide. And if you
Hmm.
see that it is 20, why not say, you know something, we are going to go on a mission so that it becomes 40 for Jamaica, a small Jamaica.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be
Hmm.
something else?
Why not
Wouldn't that be a
50?
100%.
goal to achieve and to be proud of? That is
Yes.
Those are some of the things we must look at.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Last question
Yes.
for someone who, they're watching and they are looking toward, start their investment journey. What is one piece of advice that you wish you would have got when you just got started into investing that you would give to that person?
Well, let me put the question another way. Just what is necessary to ensure that you're on the right journey?
Yeah.
One, you have to start young. You have to start young. You also need to understand that you do not have to have a lot of money to start. That's critical. Because so many people feel that I really have to have $100,000 or dollars when I'm not saying at all that while you can buy one share, but the cost you can buy 50 cents was what I think it was Trans Jamaica, was it? Or Wigton came out
Wigton
at,
listed.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So, start. Just
Uh-huh.
start.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start, try as you do to read more, understand more about what the company is doing. Show an interest. Show
Mm-hmm.
an interest in what you invest in. Invest in what you know. You love. There's always this saying: if you are saving in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
right, you get a little interest, and most times when you calculate it, it is below inflation, so you are really behind. But why not invest in the bank? So these are
Mm-hmm.
some of the things you look at. Read a lot, understand, ask question. Do not be afraid to venture out. And another thing, we tend to buy sometimes what we don't want. It's just for the glitz, etc. Look at it that you are investing in long term, and that monies could be used to invest in the market. So those are some of the advice that I would give. And be patient. It's long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Amazing, amazing advice. Wise words from Dr. Marlene Street Forrest, Managing Director of the JSE. Thank you so much, Dr. Street Forrest, for coming on the podcast. Right, we really do appreciate you for taking your time out and just joining us for this little chat. And I hope it was cool. I hope it was good. I hope you liked it.
Oh
And I
yes,
hope our
it was
listeners loved it.
smooth and cool, and I and I enjoyed it. It was really fun, talking
Okay.
with
Thank
you,
you.
and glad
Thank
to
you.
know that you are doing what you are supposed to do, which is spreading the word. And if we have persons who continue to do this, can you imagine how good Jamaica will be, how good wealth creation will be? It will be awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Guys, thank you so much. If you love this episode, please subscribe. Follow us at Limitless underscore podcast. Limitless underscore pod on any platform, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Limitless out.
Okay. It was
Peace.
my pleasure. Bye.